Okay, in today's video we're talking about absolute value on a number line. Let's jump right into it, okay? The difference on a number line. Here you see we've got a number line, it's counting by ones. Alright, we've got a point on 1 and a point on 5. And I'm asking you, what is the difference between these 2 points? Well, this is a really simple problem, I think. All we need to do is, well, let's start at 5. Let's hop till we get to 1 and count how many times we hopped, and that'll be the difference between them. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4. We hopped 4 times. That's the difference between the point on 5 and the point on 1. It's just 4. Okay, easy stuff. But what about if we make our number line a little bit bigger? Remember, number lines can count by any standard of numbers that we want. This one is counting by hundreds. And we've got a point here at 79. And a point at 423. Well, how do we find the difference between those two? We can't hop all the way from 423 to 79. We can, but it would take way too long. The answer is right in the question. We are finding the difference between these two. Difference is a word that any good third grade math student could tell you means subtract. It always means subtract. Okay? So to find the difference here, we'll just take 423 minus 79. We've got to borrow a couple times. That's no problem for us. And we end up getting 344. So the distance, or the difference, between those 2 points is 344. All right, we're still doing fine, I think. What happens now when we start throwing negative numbers into it? Okay, the difference between these two numbers, or the distance, it ends up being the same thing. All right, well, we actually can solve this in the exact same way. We still just subtract. Okay? We'll take 33 minus negative 25. Okay? The only tricky thing here is we've got to remember that when we're subtracting negative numbers, we need to keep change, or add the opposite. So we're going to keep the 33 the way it is. We're going to change the subtraction sign to addition. And we're going to change the negative 25 to positive 25. And now we have a simple addition problem. 33 plus 25. All right, we solve that real quick, and we see that the difference, or the distance between them, is 58. That might seem confusing at first because difference, we were subtracting, and we ended up getting a number that was bigger than either of the two numbers we started with. But just think about it. If we were hopping, just like our first grade method would have taught us to do, we would have hopped 33 times to get from there to 0, and we would have had to hop another 25 times to get from 0 to negative 25. If you add all those hops together, you would end up getting 58 hops. So that's the difference, or the distance, between those 2 points. Okay? So still makes sense. Well, let's finally look at what happens if we only use negative numbers. On this number line, our zeros over here, and we've got only negatives counting by 10. We've got a point at negative 54 and a point at negative 16. Okay? Well, what happens? We need to once again take the difference between these two. Let's see if it still works. And this time, just for fun, let's take negative 54 first. We'll take the smaller number first. So negative 54 minus negative 16. Okay? Just like before, we've got to keep, change. So keep, change. And now let's examine this kind of with our colors. Okay? We've got negative 54, which is red. Negatives are red. We've got positive 16, which is black. Anytime we have two different colors, it means we're going to be canceling or subtracting. Okay, so let's take 54 minus 16 . 38. Remember, the bigger of these two is the red, which is negative, so our answer is also going to be negative 38. Okay? Only one problem. Distance is never a negative number. It's never a negative number. Never, never, never. Okay? So we need to examine one more idea here, but it's a concept we've already learned and are familiar with. It's absolute value. Okay, absolute value. An absolute value, as we remember, is just the distance of a number from 0. It is always positive. And remember, it is written like this. We've got absolute value of 7 equals 7. Absolute value of negative 4 is 4. So positive no matter what. What we can say is, going back to this problem, the distance between 2 points on a number line is always the absolute value of their differences. It's always the absolute value of their differences. So in this case, all we need to do is, we already found the difference right here. It's negative 38. All we have to do is take the absolute value of it. So absolute value of negative 38 equals 38, and that is the distance between those 2 points. If we go back and look at some of our past examples, it's going to work the same way no matter what. This one was 58. If we took the absolute value of it, it's still 58 because it's positive, right? What if we had flipped these numbers? What if we had done negative 25 minus 33? Well, then we'd have to keep, change, change. Now we're adding 2 negative numbers together. We would get as our answer negative 58. But according to our rule, we know that all we have to do is take the absolute value of that, and there's our distance, once again, between those 2 points. 58, 58. No matter which way you do it, when you take the absolute value at the end, you're going to get the right answer. Okay, so pretty simple lesson for today, I hope. Don't forget to answer the questions in the description below, and I will see you tomorrow.